RedBeard Podcast is brought to you by these cool dudes.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Cooley from the RedBeard Podcast, and you are listening to the RedBeard Podcast. This is my buddy across from me.
Hey.
Yo.
What up?
Not much.
How's it going, dude?
Yo, I'm chilling, man. Chilling. How you doing?
Chilling, man.
Yo.
Yeah.
We just watched the Star Wars trailer.
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. Coming out in December.
Christmas.
What do you think?
More importantly, what do you think?
What do I think? Let's get to what I think after we figure out what you think.
Well, it's going to be a letdown for a lot of people. Well, I mean, everybody who listens to this podcast knows I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan, but, hey, I watched the trailer. I did really enjoy it. It is definitely... There's always something in those trailers that are Easter eggs that I clearly feel that I miss just because I'm not as big of a fan as everybody else, but... I will admit the trailer actually gave me some goosebumps, which is kind of cool. You know what I mean? And when that happens, that usually means that I'm really enjoying the trailer. I like how we see Raya just kind of like on the edge of the mountain with the lightsaber going and like she's training. Like that was pretty badass. Just things like that, that kind of harken back to, when Luke Skywalker was actually training with Yoda. Stuff like that. I just think the overall feel of the movie with the music, and then you see like that famous Lucasfilm logo. It really is like holy shit. Like this is a trailer. For like a movie that is universal. That just everybody is on the edge of their seats watching. And I feel like when you watch a trailer like that, you're just a bigger part of something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and it was just cool to actually hear Mark Hamill say something because, like in the last movie, I was like, he's gonna talk. He didn't say anything, but he said, I think it's time for the Jedi to end, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's at a point where he hasn't started training her yet, and why he thinks that. So there's a lot of thoughts I have, but. I really want to know what you think, man, because this is your thing. So go have at it, man.
Yeah. So like the first thing that jumped out at me was the beginning of the trailer, mimicked the beginning of the first teaser trailer for The Force Awakens, but instead of Finn popping up, in his stormtrooper outfit after crash landing on Jakku, it's her, Rey. Actually just popping up, like I guess during training because it seems like she's winded. But it's really cool because they're both like in the beginning of these trailers, they're both like sweating.
Right.
They're both like panting, like gasping for air. And it was a really cool throwback to the first teaser trailer for Force Awakens. Then, you start getting into some of the dialogue from Luke, basically asking her, what she sees. When she's focusing and whatnot, and she talks about seeing the light in the darkness.
Oh yeah, well there was that other thing where he's like breathe,
right,
and then she says she goes, oh I feel there's so much more that I feel balance, but then like you see the gravel around her start to float, and I was like, oh that's cool.
Yeah, and it was very reminiscent of Luke's time on Dagobah with Yoda when he's training. Which you mentioned, which was very impressive. That with you not being a Star Wars fan in particular, like the fact that you caught on to that was kind of impressive to me. That moment when she's doing that really reminded me of when Luke's kind of teaching. Yoda's teaching Luke how to get the X-wing out of the swamp.
Yeah.
And she starts focusing, and the rocks start levitating and stuff like that. That was really cool. But I thought what was really important in this teaser, and this just came out, so we're talking about this right now as it dropped, so I don't think anybody's actually written anything on this yet, but if they do, I'd be interested to see what anybody else thinks. But what was really important was that call out to the fact that she sees light and she sees dark, and she sees so much more, and the balance and so on and so forth. Like the whole story of Star Wars is about Luke Skywalker being the chosen one, the guy that's going to bring balance to the Force. And maybe his destiny is to train Rey, and finally bring that balance to the Force. And that means that there's going to be a character in this movie or in the next movie, or at least by the third movie in this trilogy, where this character is going to be someone who uses both the full powers of the dark side and the light side of the Force, thus bringing an end to the Jedi, because the Jedi is purely a light side, they're light side of the Force users. This is going to be fantastic. And there was a scene where there were like these really weird like fighters, like starfighters that they were like white and glowing, and like you had Finn sitting in the cockpit of one of them, it looked like. And it looked like his eyes were closed, definitely. So it looked kind of like maybe he was using the Force to pilot the craft, and I'm not sure if that was the case or not. But that would be really interesting too, if they're finally like revealing him to be a Force user, because I didn't get that from the first film, that he was actually connected to the Force in any way. Right.
One of the things that I feel like I missed, just because, like I said, not being like a huge buff of the movies, there was one point where somebody puts their hand down on something that looks almost like a type of like paper or linen, and it has a symbol on it. What was that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
See, I didn't catch that.
Okay, it was almost like a gold symbol or something, and they put their hand down on it, and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'll have to watch the trailer again. I mean, we watched it once, and so like there's definitely some things that I missed on, and I'm definitely going to watch it a few more times, and we can talk more about it because now that they've released that teaser, that means more's coming.
Now what do you think about what Luke says at the end, where he's like, I think the time has come, to end the Jedi? Like, what do you mean? What do you think he means by that?
Well, technically, like, he is the last Jedi that we know of. With that being the case, like, I think exactly like I had mentioned it, like before, the fact that she sees both the light and the dark, and the opportunity to bring them together. I think that's what he means. Like, he's not training a Jedi. He's training her in the use of the Force as a whole. It's not splintered anymore. It's not separated or fractured, and that's going to make her one of the most powerful Force wielders in the galaxy.
So, all right. So maybe that's something I don't understand, but I mean, the fact that you actually have what's the difference between a Force user and a Jedi? I mean, well, obviously a Force user could be either way, I guess. Like right. Vader uses the Force. He's a Force user, but a Jedi is...
He's a Sith. Vader is a Sith.
A Sith, right.
Which is purely dark side.
Right.
Skywalker is a Jedi, which is purely light side of the Force. And they have their own code, and they have their own way of doing things. Jedi, think of it as an order of knights. Mm-hmm. And they have their own like moral code, and they have their own way of doing things. They have their own rules. And they try to steer themselves away from emotion, because emotion leads to the dark side.
But that's my point, though. So why
Darksiders give into emotion,
and Jedis don't?
And Jedis don't. And so like the end of the Jedi would be like no longer would you have that order of knights that actually succumb to those rules. He's not going to ban or stop Rey from having emotions and feelings, but he's probably going to teach her how to use those emotions and feelings without completely giving into the dark side, so she can kind of ride that fence. Because if you think about it, I think it really comes down to this situation where it's like Catholic school. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You have Catholic school, and you go there, and you have these rules that kind of keep you in check, and in your head, all you're thinking about is, what if I could do this, and what if I could do that? And then when you finally get out of Catholic school and you don't have the nuns with the rulers and the paddles, fucking you up every time you turn around, now you just fucking go buck wild, and you're like, fuck it, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're just like, you're screwing everything in sight. You're probably taking drugs. You're doing all this shit because you've the reins are off. So now you've gone from the light side to the dark side, and that's basically your Jedi that's given into their feelings and emotions and now have gone completely to the dark side. So instead of depriving her, right, and holding back her feelings and making her do things that possibly she doesn't really want to do, and kind of restricting her. It's allowing her to feel her emotions and to use her emotions and to use the dark side of the Force while keeping her emotions in check and just teaching her how to control it.
Okay.
Right?
All right,
that's not the way of the Jedi. So that's why he's saying the Jedi have to end.
That makes sense, because I always wondered why, why would you want it to be the Last Jedi? Like, the Jedis are the good guys, but I mean, there's obviously more behind that, and that's obviously, I think, a good explanation of it. I mean, yeah, it definitely, I like the metaphor for like Catholic school, because I feel like that makes a lot of sense to people. Right. I went to Catholic school. I mean, it wasn't, when I went, it wasn't really like getting slapped with a ruler, but it was like, you're going to detention, for like stupid shit. Yeah. And once I got out of Catholic school, it was just like, fuck it. But, it's just something.
Fuck it, I'm doing everything I couldn't do.
Yeah, exactly,
And that's your Vader, that's your Dooku, that's your Darth Maul. Like, it's like, they're just like, fuck it, I'm giving into everything. Yeah. These are all my vices, I'm just giving into it, and the vices control you. So basically, the dark side of the Force is in control, and you're not in control if you give in. And that's why they call it giving in. With the light side of the Force, you're in complete control. And so you're blocking out all the other abilities that you would have. So to restore balance is to bring it all together and kind of meet in the middle where you still have control over everything, but you're not excluding your feelings. You're not locking away your feelings. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's I don't know, the Star Wars trailers have really they've been very interesting to me, because it's a lot of build up for these movies that everybody is waiting for, and everybody is just literally sitting on the edge of their seats watching these trailers, and it's just amazing how powerful these movies have become. They're almost like a lifeline for people. Like when Rogue One came out, it was like Facebook exploded. People were like, it's at Target, it's at Walmart. It's like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I think I even posted, I was like, why don't you guys stop talking about it? Just go get it. You know what I mean? Like, just go get your copy, man. Go home, watch it. Like, I don't know. Like, but I guess I have to compare that to something that I'm really passionate about. Like when something comes out, I think the last thing that I like was amped up to get was like, I went to a midnight release was when they released the last Mortal Kombat, because I've been playing that since I was like 12, so that was cool. But yeah, man, there hasn't been really anything that I've like amped up. I mean, I'll pre-order stuff on iTunes, you know what I mean? And then I just get it that day, a little bit earlier, or usually like a day before. So I'll sit home and watch it, and I don't have to necessarily leave the house and worry about getting a copy. It's all digital. So that's cool. I think the trailer looks good, man. I'm excited. To actually see the movie, but we got to wait until Christmas. So what do we got? We got a while. But in the meantime, we got so many other things to watch that are going to keep us busy. So I'm excited. I'm just gonna let the excitement build for Star Wars, and I'm gonna let this other stuff hold me over. And Guardians I'm gonna see that probably like 12 times in theaters, man. Like that shit. Especially so far hype has been that Guardians is gonna be, if not better, at least as good as the first one, which was something very special. So I'm pumped.
Well, Guardians, the trailer is better every time I see it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Guardians, the first one was done so well that they really have a lot of pressure on themselves have put a lot of pressure on themselves to make the second one just as good. But from what I've seen from the trailers, it looks like it's got the same vibe to it. Mm-hmm. It's got the same sort of fun behind it. And what I also like is that I feel like they actually, in a sense, didn't let that pressure stand on their shoulders when they went to make this. They just did the same thing they did the first time.
Right.
Like, don't try to make it better. Don't try to amp it up. Just stay right on that middle where you were, and it's going to have the same success. And I think that's where a lot of sequels fall short, is they try to overdo or top what they did the last time, and in doing that, they fail. Because you just can't. You usually can't top the first one. But some sequels did, like The Dark Knight. But you know what I mean? So I'm excited for Guardians, too. And obviously, we got Alien Covenant coming out in May 19th. What else is coming out? There's so much stuff.
Dude, friggin' Injustice 2.
Injustice 2, yeah, that's coming out. I can't wait for that.
Which, I mean, you all know that I don't really get excited for DC properties, but Injustice was a fucking amazing game with an amazing story to it. Like, it was probably one of the best DC stories I've ever, like, I guess, played, watched, whatever. But you get what I'm saying. Like, as a story, it was probably one of the best stories, like, ever.
I mean, all the trailers that have come out look better. Each one's better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They keep improving. They keep giving us a little bit more of a piece to the story.
I mean, it makes me wonder why they can't do this type of thing for their movies. Because
forget it, dude.
Because if their movies were like 3/4 of the quality of Injustice, we wouldn't be having some of the discussions that we have. We'd just be praising every superhero movie that ever came out. Like, it's sad to me.
Yeah, but I just feel like video games and movies are, as simple as it might sound to do something like that, they're totally different monsters. You know, so I feel like there's more money that goes into making a movie. There's actors that have to be paid. I mean, if you have the license
but why? Think about Assassin's Creed, though, right?
Yeah,
like they put how much money did they put into it? So much, and they got Fassbender, and they got like all these amazing actors, right? To do the movie, and they had the game. The game laid out the fucking story. They didn't even have to write shit. Why can't they just take a property with the story that's there and fucking make it?
Because they suck.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's
answer. Not because it's difficult. Like, you just made it sound like it was really hard to do, and it's not.
Well, no, but it is though. Dude, it's more. Listen, if you have the license to make a game like Injustice, where you have the license for DC characters, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. Like, you're going to be able to create the characters. It's all CG. They're not real. You might have a couple people in motion capture suits, but it's like you got to get actors that have to be paid their contract. You got to get everybody everybody's schedule has to be cleared up. You got to get them all together at the same time. You know,
all of that is taken care of because they have all the actors. They have the budget for the CGI, right? I'm talking, look, this is the same fucking studio. Warner Brothers is the studio behind Injustice. You know what I mean? They're the ones that are publishing the game. Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers gave NetherRealm the rights to create the story and to do all the, like, you know, the CGI and all that shit, right? Game's amazing. Warner Brothers is the same studio. The Hollywood branch of Warner Brothers puts together, you know, their Justice League movie. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm not saying the Justice League movie is shit because it's not out yet, but it looks like it's going to be shit. The Batman v Superman movie was near shitty. I mean, I'm going to say it's probably average. I mean, it didn't blow me away, and it should have.
Right.
So on that scale, it's shit. Mm-hmm. Right? Why? That's the problem. Like, I mean, you have Ben Affleck, you have Henry Cavill, who played Superman in Man of Steel and was amazing in Man of Steel. You've got big name actors in that movie. You know what I mean? Like the actors, the budget, all that shit is nothing. Like to Warner Brothers, they have it. Mm-hmm. So all that shit's taken care of. What the problem was the story, right? And putting it all together. Why bother when you have such material as the Injustice game? You have the material before you that's in the comic books, which they have some really amazing epic runs in the comics.
Yeah, but I just think it's different. It's different, man. Like, I get what you're saying; they're valid points, but it is very different. Like, a movie in itself is different than what goes into it than a video game. Like, it just does. There's a lot more. Like scheduling for one, like getting everybody together that's going to be in that movie to film on location wherever the hell they're going to be. I mean, it's a longer process. It's something that is going to take a lot longer to put together.
But that's what I'm saying. They already have that. That part of that part of it's handled. Forget about scheduling. Forget about the actors. They're all there. That part's handled. You have all the actors together for Justice League. What's so difficult about making a good story?
Well, no. I mean, they have there's different writers. I mean, like, if the story's not good enough, I mean, well, dude. I mean, here's the thing. They don't. From as far as I can see, DC hasn't made smart decisions at all They just decide to fucking put something together and try to catch up to Marvel and have their own, DC universe, where the Marvel universe has been something that's they've been setting that up since like 2008. Right. With Iron Man, with the first Iron Man. They've been building this for 8-9 years and releasing it in a strategic, smart way to be where they are right now. DC is just trying to catch up. And by catching up and trying to rush things, they're fucking stuff up and disappointing fans. So they have the ability to make good stories. They're just not making the best decisions to do so. And whose fault is that? It could be you have different writers who actually write for NetherRealm Studios and Warner Brothers who are in charge of the video game aspect of DC. And then you have different writers who are hired for the movie because the movie actually, it cost a ton more to actually put a movie together. So therefore they hire different writers for that. When maybe that's where the fault is.
That's what I'm saying.
And I agree with you on that.
Like if I were an executive producer or a producer, if I had money to do it, if I was like the head of Warner Brothers, shit is a fucking done deal. I'm just like, okay, these guys killed it. I want them to write the story that we're going to put together. We have the actors. We have everybody's schedule taken care of. We have the budget for the special effects. These guys just need to write the story.
Yeah, but you know what, dudes? Injustice, and if you look at it, Injustice is still a fairly new game. Like, in the grand spectrum of things, this is Injustice 2. It's not like there's been like an Assassin's Creed saga like 7-8 games in where they realized, oh, wow, this is a franchise that is still... people are still paying for. Let's make a movie out of it. Injustice 2 it hasn't even been released yet. Let this success of Injustice 2 hit ground and send some shockwaves out. And if it gets good reviews, then fucking yay for DC. And maybe they'll get a hint that they should be looking at the storyline for that game and making somewhat of a movie out of it. You know what I mean? Because they will be able to do that. But
I don't even really want them to make a movie out of Injustice.
But you're talking about somebody who has control over storyline. Right. Storyline is the key. Storyline for Injustice was awesome. Injustice 2 looks even better. Mm-hmm. And it looks more powerful. The graphics have improved. It's NetherRealm Studios, so the same company that created Mortal Kombat. The gameplay is going to be fucking phenomenal, and it looks phenomenal from the trailers. So I can only imagine how awesome this game's going to be. So,
but think about what you said too. Like, I know Injustice is a young game, but you mentioned Assassin's Creed. We talked about Assassin's Creed briefly just now. 7 or 8 games in, we know that shit has a great storyline. We know that it's like really cool and original and conceptually pretty amazing. Why couldn't they just follow that?
You know what though, man? It's like a conversation that I was having with Becca the other day. It's one of those things where, this people are only going to jump on it when the pot's hot. You know what I mean? Like, think about what was the example that I used? The fucking show where it's different every season, and I sound like a fucking idiot. American Horror Story. American Horror Story, when it first came out in its infancy, was a very new show, and people were like, "Oh, like American Horror Story." Nobody knew what it was, right? You had Lang in it. You had a bunch of other great actors. And everybody was like, oh, this is like a cool horror show that's on network television now. Like, I'm down horror. Like, that hasn't been done in a while since, like, Masters of Horror, right? Where they had all these horror directors come in, like Wes Craven and so forth.
Yeah.
So you get a show like that, right, that nobody expects to be as big as it's become. And as soon as it gets a little bit of fire under its ass and it starts blowing up on TV, all these people want to fucking part in it. Everybody wants to get their hand on the pot while it's hot. Like you got like Lady Gaga had to fucking be a part of it. You had to get a bunch of other actors to jump in. It just became like this thing where it's like, okay, well now it's the cool thing, so everybody's got to jump into it. It's like they're not going to give a shit about it until it's getting rave reviews and it's blowing up to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when you consider it, Injustice is still in its infancy, and we had one great game. Everybody loved it. It's kind of gone under the radar since then. Once Injustice came out, it had its hype and went under the radar for a while. Nobody cares about it anymore. Trailer for the second one came out. It looks even better. Now it's back up on top.
Right.
People are waiting for this game to come out. So I feel like let this second game, happen and then see what happens. See if DC and the studios realize they got something where they can make a lot of money on. And that's kind of what's happened with Mortal Kombat, man. Mm-hmm. Like Mortal Kombat, came back, and it blew up with Mortal Kombat 9. Mortal Kombat X has been fucking phenomenal, and they're still releasing shit for it. And there's talks right now of them making a Mortal Kombat movie because they know the fans want it. So let that happen. Mortal Kombat was under the radar for a long time until 9 came out. And then everybody realized, holy shit, this is still a thing. People still play this. So give a second for the studio to realize it's bigger than they think it is. And I think that's where we're going to see some changes.
Well, I think here's my take on it. I think there are some studios that give a shit and want to put out the best thing that they can put out, and want whether you're a gamer, we're talking about games, you got Rocksteady that's putting out, the Arkham Knight series, which is one of the most amazing series out there. You've got, NetherRealm that puts together Mortal Kombat and Injustice, 2 amazing fucking games. They're fantastic. And you can tell that there's a lot of love and effort and energy that goes into creating these things. And then you have studios like, and by studios, I mean publishers like EA, that's just like, okay, well, make some tweaks and we just throw out the next game, like Madden, which year to year is almost like just a roster update, except for last year's, which was actually a pretty good game. But, that fucking isn't enough. Like when we're talking like 16, 17 fucking versions of the game that, are like just the same shit fucking every year with a graphic overhaul. Like you've got studios that EA is really the biggest like offender of this shit, where, you put out like a game that's like half finished and, over time you release the rest of it, but you're paying for more shit. We talked about this before with somebody, and I can't remember who the person was that we were talking to, but they were saying they weren't going to get Injustice. Oh, Matt Pettit. Yeah. He said, I'm not going to get Injustice because, I know like soon they're going to release the Ultimate version, and, I don't want to pay for, the game twice or whatever.
The Ultimate version of Mortal Kombat came out like a year in. I'm not going to wait that long.
No, me either. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, with game studios like NetherRealms, you're going to get quality. With game studios like EA, you might want to wait a little bit before you fucking buy the shit, because you're going to get like a third of the game that's already completed, and then they're just going to release the other 3 parts of the game or the other 2 parts of the game when when they feel like, oh, well, now it's time to like release it because people are getting bored with the 1/3 that we released. So, and then you still have to pay like $10 to $15 more for each section, sometimes $29, and it's just stupid. Plus, there's all this in-game currency and all this other shit that you have to buy. Sell me a complete fucking game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Please, for once in your fucking life, sell me a complete game so I can sit down and play it and enjoy it without having to pump money into your pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it. Games are expensive to produce and create. You want to charge me $80 for the game, right? So that way I don't have to keep feeding you with fucking money every time I need something. Like a power up for my fucking football play. Like, I mean, my football guy, like if I'm playing football, my receiver should be a fucking dope receiver every time I play the game.
Yeah.
If he's a good, like if I'm playing with Odell Beckham Jr., he should be Odell Beckham Jr. from beginning to end. It shouldn't be like, oh, here's your bronze card, Odell Beckham Jr. He's a 79. But if you want him to be the guy that he is on TV, like, you have to buy fucking gold version or platinum version or the ruby version of Odell Beckham Jr. And that's going to cost you about fucking $57 in gold coins to open up 52 packs of the fucking Pro series or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go through that shit. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where I get frustrated. But again, back to what I was saying, movies, same thing. You know what I mean? Like, you have people that love the property that they're doing. Marvel, for instance, Sony is the one. Right now, Sony and Fox, I can say, they don't really love their properties. You know what I mean? But you have people within those studios like Ryan Reynolds and shit like that. They love the properties that they're doing, and it shows in the movie. Warner Brothers with the DC properties, they're pumping them out because they want to make money, right? And it's great. Everybody wants to make money, but I want to see shit out there that people are putting love and effort into, because that's going to translate and it's going to make me feel good about the shit I'm watching.
Right. No, I mean, it all makes sense. I agree in one aspect, that I think if NetherRealm Studios, like that with the example would be Mortal Kombat, like if they finish the game, but then they intentionally go out and create things, like new things for you to download, like they're working on things, like then fine, I'll pay for it.
Right.
But I'm not. Yeah, but if they, like you were saying, like sell me a fucking complete game, like it's legit. I mean, it's so true.
I'm sorry, I went on a complete fucking rant there because I just got more and more angry as I was talking.
No, dude, that's it, dude. That's what RedBeard Podcast is known for.
Right,
we get heated. So, but definitely on another note, some sad news this week. We found out that Charlie Murphy passed away from leukemia, which was kind of mind-blowing because I didn't even know that he had leukemia.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people did.
Yeah, they kind of kept that quiet. But I was kind of on TMZ, and I saw it pop up, and I was like, what? Like, I actually thought I read it wrong, and then I just clicked on the link and went into it, and it was like a picture of Charlie Murphy and all the info. And it's crazy, man. He was 57. It's insane, for somebody to die so young. And I know that Eddie Murphy is actually, and their family's kind of been like mourning that, as they should be. Really bad loss for a lot of people, especially for the comedy world. He was great on Chappelle's show, had some great stuff there. And it was cool because I was online this morning and I was just on YouTube, kind of doing like a YouTube thing for like 20 minutes. And I saw this thing that was recent where Dave Chappelle was doing like a comedy show in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And he started talking about Charlie Murphy for a little bit, and then it was weird. I'm not sure what it was, but it was like I think it was a John Mayer concert,
right?
But Dave Chappelle like showed up, I guess, because they're like boys or whatever, and like came out and like kind of did like a 10-minute thing, like it wasn't more of like a set. It was just kind of laid back thing where he came out on stage, but he brought him up and he's like, there's a song that I want you to that I really love that you do. He's like, because it reminds me of when I heard it, it reminds me of him, and he played it and it was a really cool song, and then that was kind of like the end of the show. They both kind of just walked off stage. So it was interesting, to see something so recent, but it's affected a lot of people and it's a major loss. So it sucks, man. So I don't know. Did you watch him on Chappelle's show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like the true Hollywood stories.
Yeah, and then like the Rick James shit.
Yeah.
He's talking about his experience with Rick James, which I thought was pretty funny.
Charlie Murphy. Darkness.
He looks so much like his brother too. Like, which is messed up is that like when I went on TMZ and I pulled up the picture of it says Charlie Murphy as past whatever. It looks exactly like Eddie Murphy to the point where it's like they couldn't have chosen like another picture that doesn't look like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they look like...
But he's more of a thugged out version of Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a little bit bigger. He's got more muscle on him.
Like when you see Charlie Murphy, like you know that Eddie Murphy was the nerd of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of... just to turn the tables a little bit, I was also watching something that I had forgotten about, but... Eddie Murphy was on Jimmy Kimmel, and they had asked him about if he was ever going to do stand-up again. And he was like, well, he's like, stand-up is more than people think. He's like, I got to go back into the clubs. I got to start working the circuit. He's like, I don't think that there's a lot of leather suits out there anymore. And Jimmy Kimmel's like, we'll find you a leather suit. We'll find you one. But he said it's not impossible. He's actually really considering it. So I think that would be awesome to see him do stand-up again, because he was damn funny. But he admitted he's like a different person now, so the comedy's probably going to be different.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, man. Like, I like him more as a comedian than I did as an actor. Like, there were movies that I loved. Like, obviously, Beverly Hills Cop was the so shit. Good. Like shit like that. 48 Hours was amazing. Yep. Like that whole series.
What about Dr. Dolittle?
Like those I'm not into.
I'm just kidding, dude. I don't think a lot of people are into those. That was kind of like the end of his acting career, which sucked, man, because I really do like him. But talk to me about this though, man. Turning the tables again here. American Gods, obviously a book or a series that was written by Neil Gaiman, and you actually sent me this trailer last night. I had never heard of American Gods, and you are like psyched about it. The trailer looks phenomenal. And you showed me the second trailer a little bit earlier, and it's just like a lot more like blood and guts, and it's gory as shit. So I'm pretty excited about that. But But talk to me a little bit about that and what your hopes are, I guess, for this series or this whole thing coming out. It looks awesome.
Yeah, no, it looks amazing. I'm thinking this could be the show that kind of dethrones Game of Thrones. Yeah. The key is going to be for people to latch onto it. Like, people have to know about it. People have to hear it. People have to hear that this show is amazing, and they have to see it. It's going to be on Starz, so Starz I don't think is as popular as the HBO network, so I'm not sure how many people have it, how many people, watch shows on it, but if you can get into, hopefully people can get into like a free trial of Starz or something like that and just check this show out. It looks fantastic. It got a really good cast. Ian McShane's in it. I
love Ian McShane,
who is fantastic. And it's a story about old gods that exist still, and they are on Earth, and they are disguised as humans. And they're preparing for war against the new gods, and the new gods are basically like technology and media and stuff like that. So they're preparing to go to war against them, and it's gonna be a really, really good show, man, because it looks so far, like from the trailers, it looks like they're going kind of word for word from the book. And they're splitting that book up into 3 chapters basically. And each season is going to represent a third of the book American Gods. So if you haven't read the book, pick it up, check it out. It's really great. It's by Neil Gaiman, one of the best authors, I think, of the century. And I know that's heavy, but it's damn true. Guy's amazing. And seriously, this show, if it's anything like the book, it's going to be fantastic. Like, it's going to blow people away. And he's working on the second novel now, so that means that there's going to be more material to kind of keep the show going. And it's not. And when he's working on a novel, this is the type of author that will finish it. It's not like George R.R. Martin, where you're going to be waiting fucking 5 years for a novel. I mean, like, it's been a while since American Gods came out, so but he never said there was going to be a sequel.
Right.
So he's working on the sequel now, and because I don't know if like it getting picked up for a show kind of sparked something in his mind, and like he decided to continue the story, but yeah, it's going to be great.
Awesome, man! I'm looking forward to it. Ian McShane, though, I'm glad that he's in it. He's such a powerful actor, and I think one of my favorite roles of him that he's done was in Hot Rod. I mean, he played, the character Andy Samberg's father, which was great. You guys got to check out Hot Rod if you haven't seen it. And I was kind of blown away when I found out you hadn't seen it. But he's great in that. And also, last thing I saw Ian McShane in was John Wick 2. He was awesome in that, too. I mean, he's just got such a powerful presence that I'll watch anything that he's in. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Guys, check out the trailer for American Gods. There's 2 of them. The second one was even better than the first. It was just so much more bloody and gives you an idea of how gruesome the show's going to be. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, watch both trailers. I mean, the first one sets everything up, kind of lets you know kind of what it's about, like how weird the show is going to be. And then the second one just kind of opens it up and shows you that hey, there is action in this, and there is some gore that's going to be coming. So
yeah, that's an understatement. It was pretty crazy, man.
Yeah,
like people getting cut in half, just like it's insane. So
yeah, like right down the middle.
Yeah, and like
and across the middle.
Yeah, and slow motion, like them splitting apart. So
like
holy shit.
The main character in one of the trailers is like laying in a sea of blood, guts, arms, and heads, and like like he's just laying face down in it and like pulling himself up off the ground. It's like the sickest shit, man. It's awesome.
It looks awesome.
I think this will be a good time to take a quick break and hear a little bit about our sponsor.
This episode of the RedBeard Podcast is brought to you by Supply and Demand Investing. Not all investments are created equal. Guys, did you know that the Standard & Poor's 500 is made up of the 500 of the 2,400 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange?
Say word.
And that the S&P 500 index, most quoted by the media outlets, is a cap-weighted index. A cap-weighted index gives more investment weight to larger companies and incrementally less and less to the smaller ones.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yet, there's another S&P 500 index that invests in the same 500 stocks equally. The question then is, which of these two indexes do you think has performed better over the past 5 years?
I have an idea.
Well, if you want to find out, go to supplyanddemandinvesting.com/RedBeard. That's us, guys. supplyanddemandinvesting.com/RedBeard. Now, supply and demand investing helps compare investments in the hopes of delivering better than average results, whether they be long-term, short-term, or just something in the middle. And remember, like any good sports team, when it comes to investing,
The Giants.
there are times to play offense by investing in things like the S&P 500 and times to play defense by investing in things like bonds, CDs, or cash. So I say go Pats.
Go Giants.
Pats.
If you want to find out, check out
supplyanddemandinvesting.com/RedBeard.
So, this just came out on Netflix. Pretty awesome. It's Louis C.K. 2017. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. It's Louis C.K.'s latest Netflix special. There's been a lot of awesome specials blowing up on Netflix. I mean, if you are a comedy person and you want to watch comedy, stand-up comedy specifically, you can pretty much find almost any comedian on Netflix now. Dave Chappelle just released 2, which were fantastic. And I wasn't even aware. I knew Louis C.K. was going to be dropping a Netflix special, but I wasn't sure when. And then I got like a notification that it was out. And, it was awesome. I really did like it, but it wasn't as good as some of the other specials that I've seen. I think my favorite Louis C.K. special was Shameless. Chewed Up was good. And he has, some live specials as well. But this was a very different type of performance by Louis C.K. He came out in a suit for one, which he's never really done before. He's always been kind of like a jeans and a black T-shirt type of guy. Mm-hmm. So to see him in a suit was kind of interesting. But he
Like
looked
a full suit and tie?
Yeah, full suit and tie, like really kind of like classy comedian,
It's like some Vegas shit.
It's like Rodney Dangerfield, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But he came out in a full suit. I know Jerry Seinfeld does that a lot. But he's also lost which looks like a good amount of weight too, which I'm psyched for him because Louis C.K. was starting to get heavy, and he talked about how unhealthy he was in a bunch of his specials. So it looks like he kind of started to drop some weight, and I think because of that he maybe felt a little bit more confident putting on a suit. I mean, he looked good, but it was definitely funny. He did a lot of observational comedy. I mean, it started off with him talking about abortion, which was okay. Like, you're going to start off your special with abortion jokes, but I wouldn't expect anything less from him. And he also had this really funny joke about how I don't want to give too much away, but I'm totally going to. He had this joke about how when you're a younger kid, you don't necessarily know how to talk to a girl. You don't know how to necessarily go up and like ask if you can, go out with her, or like how do you approach that? And so he started doing this voice of like an English, like old English kind of. He's like, how did he start? He's like, "Hello, may I talk to your woman?" And then like he would do like the woman's voice. He's like, "Yes, you may, sir." And then he's like, "May I finger her?" And then he goes, "You are very bold, sir, but yes, you may." And then it cuts back and he goes, "Finger her I shall." And then he does like this whole thing like with his hand, like he's fingering her, and then like does like a bow like a prince. Like it was really funny. He's just got he's the same Louis C.K., but on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'd give it like an 8 because it wasn't the funniest I've seen, but it was still worth watching. So check it out. Louis C.K. 2017 on Netflix. There it is.
Word.
Yeah. Another thing, comedy world, Jay Pharaoh was fired from SNL. And this was somewhat recent, but you and I were kind of reading up on this, trying to figure out what the grounds were for him getting fired. And it seems like they just, aren't going to be using the characters that he's done anymore. Like Obama's out of office, so they're really not going to be doing anything with that. And I think a lot of the impressions that he did were of, African-American celebrities. And they said that the show is going to be going like in a different direction, I think, for a lot of the impressions that he does. Not specifically African-Americans, just in general. So I think they kind of weeded him out. And that kind of sucks because I did like him, but I also felt he was kind of underused. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, and he even said that he felt like he was underused. He said they put you in a box, like you kind of, get known for one thing, and they just want you to keep doing that thing. And he just got sick of it himself. So I think there might have just been some conflict. Like they wanted him to do something that he didn't want to do, and he was just like, all right, then I'm out. He had mentioned like being like like they wanted him to like wear dresses and shit.
Yeah,
and he was just like, yeah, I'm not about that, so I'm not gonna do it.
Right. I mean, I also feel like, as a comedian, though, if you're on SNL, I mean, they want you to do something. Like, it's all a character. You know what I mean? Like, like there's been a lot of guest celebrities that dress up as women because it's going to be funny.
Right.
I don't think he should take it as like, oh, I have too much pride. It's like, it's a character, man. Like, people know it's SNL. They're not going to, like, make fun of you because you put a dress on. It's just a character. But
I mean, there have been, to his, like, what he had said, too, was that, there's a lot of, like, African American comedians that are put in that position where like they're kind of like forced into that, like where they want you to wear a dress, and it's funny because there's a psychological aspect to it where you become this black comedian that's a rising star, and you're being put in a position of power, and this is probably like it's going to be less and less an issue going forward, just because of the day and age that we live in, where there's a lot more acceptance for cross-dressing and transgender and such. But there was this position of power that you're in, and they want to make you look weak by putting you in women's clothes, and that's something that African American like actors, comedians, and so on have kind of gone through over the years. And so I kind of get where he's coming from, where he's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's just not, because that's not my type of comedy. I'm not going to do that. And, that's that. So I kind of respect him for standing up for himself and kind of putting his foot down and drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's some parts of it I guess I can agree with. There's like some parts I don't. I think, if you're on SNL and they're paying you, like, it's comedy. Like, I don't think anybody takes anything you do on SNL too seriously because it's SNL. It's done for a laugh, and if it doesn't get a laugh, then it is what it is. And they've known him for doing a lot of other things. Like, just look him up on YouTube too. I mean, I'm sure that anybody has seen him on SNL has seen some of his YouTube shit, and he's got like a huge encyclopedia of impressions that he can do. And that is one thing I will say I agree with completely, is that if he feels that he was underused, he was being underused. There's so many other things they could have used him for. He kind of got stuck in the Ben Carson Obama kind of thing. And, he did Jay-Z a couple times. But, I mean, he does an awesome Will Smith. He does an awesome Denzel Washington. He does pretty much almost any celebrity you can think of. I mean, great. He does an amazing Eddie Murphy. There was one where he went through like this whole thing on the Weekend Update where it was him talking about like this fake party that all these comedians got together, and and he did the voices of all of them, like Chris Rock, right. And it was great. Like he's really talented, and they didn't do enough of that, and that's what I was hoping for when he was going to be on SNL. So, but he's definitely not out of a job. He is out of SNL, but he's already gotten picked up for a show that you had mentioned. So, you definitely haven't seen the end of Jay Pharaoh. I mean, this guy
right.
is still going to be around. So, something to look forward to.
Last week I was talking about X-Men Gold, and how it's like a return to form for X-Men, and kind of getting them back into the superhero business instead of being this like woe is me, Minority Report. The coolest thing about the book that I thought, one of the coolest things was the artwork, because it was like kind of back to like that 90s era, in your face, really cool art style. And there was some controversy over the last week, which is really, it blew my mind when I heard about this, because I didn't pick up on it, but Rob had picked up on it. Mm-hmm. He didn't know what it was, but it was weird to him. Like when there's a scene or two in the book, and the one that stood out was when they're playing baseball, their jerseys had like these really weird like number patterns or number schemes and letters. And it turns out that Adrian Saif, the artist on the book is a Muslim, and what he did was he had inserted some religious and political messages into the artwork that have been interpreted as some anti-Christian and anti-Jewish verses from the Quran.
Okay.
Basically that preach exclusion, but they have other interpretations. So there was something going on, and his message was something that he was trying to, put out there, like that was, something to unify people and preach love and justice, which is another way that verse can be interpreted. But the fact that there's this wholly negative way that verse can be interpreted that is anti-Christian, anti-Jewish, preaching exclusion. Marvel Comics has fired that person, Adrian, and he's actually come out and said that his career is pretty much over because of this. Wow. And the bottom line is that nobody from Marvel knew that he was doing it. So he basically kind of did it behind their back. And the whole message behind X-Men is definitely to talk about, like, unification and to be anti-prejudice and anti-exclusion. So the fact that message was in there and it can be interpreted as the exact opposite of the message behind the X-Men was a complete, like, slap in the face to Marvel. So, like, yeah, it blows my mind that somebody could do that and think that it was going to be okay.
Right. I think that the guy's kind of an idiot for doing it. I mean, why would you risk your career for something like that? Like, is it really going to be that big of an impact? Like, I think that's just racist. I mean, putting it bluntly, that's what it is. You know what I mean? Why would you do that?
Oh, because there's, and I don't know what it was because Rob was telling me about this, but there was something going on in a Muslim community, and it was like, it's been on the news and whatnot. I'm going to have to find out more about it, but we'll talk about it next week. But the issue is that he was just kind of like, it was his response to what was happening in the community. So it wasn't racist because his intentions were the other interpretation of that verse, because there are literally two interpretations. One is love and justice. Two is exclusion and anti-Christian, anti-Jewish, right? So, so his intentions were one, but it can be taken either way. And because there's that ambiguity, that's why Marvel had to take action and actually fire this young kid who just got his big break and got into the industry and lost it overnight.
Yeah, but why would you take it? Why would you risk it? Why would you put something in there that clearly wasn't approved by Marvel and not expect anybody to pick up on it? Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, dude, they that they didn't approve that. Like, he was like,
right.
He was like, something happened politically or religiously, whatever, that he was aware of, and was like, you know what? I'm going to take some of that and put it into the X-Men. Like, in his artwork. Don't do that.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Marvel, and it wasn't approved. So don't do it. Like, he fucked up. Like, that's his fault.
like, here, like, I'm showing you right here. That's the image in question. So you had
hold on. No, because I just got it backed out there. All right.
That's the image in question. So that's it's like it's a couple of letters and numbers on a jersey, right? So, like, artists in general will weave their own political views and their own ideas into artwork, but it's never really anything that's blatant. And unless you have a really, really keen eye, you're not going to pick up on it.
Yeah, but something like that, like QS551, like on the middle of the guy's chest on his shirt, like, it's obviously put in a place where everybody's going to see it, and somebody was probably going to try to figure out what that means.
Of course.
So why the hell would you do that? It's not like it's a little symbol in the background. It's clearly on there. Like, like you as a comic book reader would probably see that and be like, "What the hell does that mean?"
No,
and
I mean, I
Google it. And
I read the comic and I didn't give a shit. I didn't really pay any mind to it. Rob, on the other hand, picked it up because, like, I don't even fucking care about baseball, so I didn't.
Right.
As far as I know, that's what jerseys look like. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what the fuck they have on their jerseys, but yeah, no, it was interesting. For this kid, I think it was a dumb move. It was a stupid move, but I get why he did it, and I get the fact that art is a tool for expression. It's a vehicle for people to get, you know, their thoughts, their views out, and they do. And artists in comic books have been hiding messages and things of that nature for decades. Right. But this was just the wrong message. It's like, I swear, if there was any way that this could be if this was like only able to be interpreted one way and the message was love or inclusion, right? There's no way that Marvel would give a shit about this. But the fact that this message could be interpreted a different way is why Marvel has to take a stance. So it's not that he did it, it's what he chose to put in. And that was his mistake. Because I mean, like, if it was a heart that he put in without Marvel's approval, Marvel would have no problem.
Right.
But the fact that this is something that has some dichotomy to it, something that has some like, you know, alternative meanings, you know, they have to pull the trigger.
I guess. Unless they come out and make a statement about it, you know, that it actually means this.
Well, yeah, no, even that, like, the kid's done. He only gets 3 issues because he's already done them. They're in the can. He doesn't get paid for anything new. And Marvel has stricken those images. Well, like, they've actually, like, gotten rid of that that verse from the jerseys, and there was a couple of billboards that had it as well. They erased it from the issue, and they're reprinting it. So anybody who has that particular copy, which I didn't pick up, from the store. I actually got it on Comixology, so I blew it.
Yeah.
But that's probably going to be a very valuable issue. Yeah. Down the road. But on a lighter note, I saw Barry Weintraub last night.
Yeah, man.
This is something that you've been talking about for a while.
Yeah.
You are the lead actor in the play. You play the main character, and I called it a movie. The play was phenomenal. It was funny as hell.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you liked it. I mean, I was interested to see what you're going to think as soon as I came out on stage because you had no idea what I looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it was funny as hell, and like everybody did a great job. You know, the characters were fantastic. I wish I had seen like the first play.
Yeah,
you know, because I didn't know many of the characters going into it, but they did a really good job of kind of just making it a jumping on point. Because you know they explain a lot of things. There's a lot of exposition in some cases where like you know you get an idea of like why things are happening in the play. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really feel lost. But like just watching it from beginning to end and enjoying it the way that I did, I wish I had seen all of the events unfold like in the first act or whatever. Yeah. So this was a sequel, right? This isn't a trilogy.
This is actually the third. Yeah.
This is the third.
Yeah. All right. So the first one was done 14 years ago. The second one was done 10 years ago, and the third one is going on right now.
So I missed the first two. I need to see the first two.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys gonna do that?
I don't know if we're going to do the first 2 shows again, but we would. There's like a video of it out there somewhere. I don't know where it is.
This is part of why I hate theater is that I can't get it on demand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I missed the first fucking 2.
Right.
So yeah, like make that shit happen, man. Like, can I just make it happen. You know we got to fucking pay for it, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to talk to Lenny and get a copy of it because it's out there somewhere. And as far as I know, they did film the second one, and the third one, I'm making sure that they're going to film this one, just so you know we have a copy of it. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing with theater, man. You know, it kind of like it's a live event. You know, if you guys want to see it, you want to make sure you can get there and see it because it's. You know, it's not something that you can just on demand anymore, but or ever. So
yeah,
but anymore. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm glad you liked it, man. If anybody out there wants to check it out, you know, it's at the Arctic Playhouse in West Warwick. It runs obviously this weekend. So last night was the 13th. So it's going to be playing tonight, the 14th, 15th, and then it goes into next week. But next week it's only the 21st and 22nd, which is a Friday, Saturday, and then the last week, which is the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th.
Nice.
So make sure you guys check it out. If you want to buy tickets, ArcticPlayhouse.com. Play as Barry Weintraub Legacy. $10 online, $15 at the door. There's free refreshments except for alcohol. So come down, check it out. You guys will love it.
Bring a cushion to sit on. Fucking seats suck.
They're typical theater seats, man.
Lenny,
So,
those seats fucking suck.
yeah. Well, and by the way, give it up to Lenny, man. If you feel like he set up everything well with like exposition because he wrote it. So
Yeah, he killed it.
yeah, man. So definitely, we'll have to have Lenny on soon. Definitely.
Yeah, that's all I got, bro.
Yeah, man. I am done. So we will catch you next week, and stay tuned because we might have some info on Comic-Con, which is actually coming up to Foxwoods Resort Casino in June. So
Woo!
keep you guys posted. Later.
Peace.